Hello, everybody. This is your host, Aram Melkoumov, and you're listening to another episode of the Product Innovation Series. Today, I'm joined with the CEO of Noteable, Pierre Brunelle. He started his career in France, worked in Belgium, Luxembourg, Saudi Arabia, and then moved to Seattle in 2018 to work at Amazon, and is now building a collaborative data notebook that enables teams to use and visualize data together. Pierre, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So first question I have is, when we had a chance to speak before, we uncovered that you're actually a very kind of technical PM. So want to kind of ask you how did you start in your career? What was your first role in product management?
Yeah, my first role in product management, because my first role in non-product management was actually civil engineering in Saudi Arabia. So I think that's not very
Okay.
relevant.
All right.
I think so. A lot of people ask me, how do you become a product manager and how do you get there? What's your first role? You actually never really start as a product manager. You end up in different roles that makes you build the skill sets that you need to become potentially in the future a product manager. People speak about the mini CEO role or being an entrepreneur. I think for me, what helped me understand that I was going to be interested in this career was my first really paid job was a consultant at Computer Science Corporation, so CSC, which doesn't exist anymore. It was acquired I merged with HP Enterprise to become DXE Technology. And, I was in the field. I was implementing a solution called Oracle PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft was acquired by Oracle for like 10 billion a long time ago. And what you do in that job, you go into a client, their organization. You do requirement elicitation. So you go around, try to define the business case. You host a lot of workshops, and you try to map their problem to a solution. You work with a solution architect, and you build a solution for them, of course, that you can implement, because that's your job when you work for a company like Accenture or Cognizant or whatsoever, because you try to sell your service, which is we're going to implement, we're going to do the maintenance and all of that, like very ERP style, old school sale and consultancy. So that's how I started. And when I look at it from now, it's like I actually developed a lot of skill set that helped me become product manager, which is requirement elicitation, managing stakeholders, communication, running a project from ideation to implementation. So that was my first job, not as a product manager, but I feel like helped me a lot getting there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so after that, what was like your real kind of first role in product management?
Product management. So I was in Luxembourg, Amazon. I was not a technical product manager at that time. I joined, despite having a very technical background in decision sciences. I joined as a pure product manager. That's what they call. When you work at Google or Facebook, you will not be called a technical product manager, but they will expect you to be very technical. Amazon, because of the retail business, you have a lot of product manager who are not technical at all. But what they do is they manage a category. They manage, part of the business on the website. So I was a product manager in the automotive category. So I was in charge of like the search experience for people who go to Amazon.eu, which is France, Spain, Germany, Italy, and the UK at the time. And I was like, okay, how do I provide a better experience for them? How do I make sure they found what they want through browsing, through search, through ads? Are we missing categories? Are we missing selection? Is there a new experience we can come up with? So, I was in a team of product managers. We are many. Part of the team was working on launching a new business. So, for example, we launched at that time the possibility to lease a car on Amazon. So we partner with leasing companies, and in Spain, for example, I know you're in Barcelona. I think it was like 6 years ago, Amazon launched the first online leasing kind of business. And we did it in Europe because it was not possible in the US. So that was part of what I did, and mostly worked on search experience, which made me get into technical, because I worked a lot with machine learning team at that time, and the search team was in Amazon.
It's funny because leasing, from what I know, in Europe only really for cars only came up kind of recently, whereas in North America it was like predominantly the go-to, right, when you want to buy a car.
Yeah.
So what? How did that happen? Because I would assume that they would want to first launch
The
in
US.
North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the US. Yeah.
I mean, most of the team was from the US, so I guess they had the idea that he was going to work in the EU because they're used. No, I think it's actually a great question. I think the first one was it was not possible in the US. I don't remember the regulation of and the reason why. I think it was about you need to have physical stores or like a presence, and there is like
Okay.
in every space, in every category, in every country, you have some blockers to be able to do things until you have check certain boxes. Um, but more generically, Amazon EU internally, the team, the CEO Jeff Wilkie and others always mention EU being a source of innovation for Amazon because the regulation is so different, and as a market, it is very small. And to make it big and to make it scalable and profitable, you have to target more than one country. The issue is France, Spain, Italy, Germany. We don't speak the same language, and so we don't all speak English. That's very difficult to scale a business. And you pass the border, and you have a different tax system. You pass the border, you have a different control. So that makes it very difficult. So trying to find solution for Amazon that was like EU-wise actually solved a lot of problems that either America didn't have, or also solve a lot of problems that then could be replicated to the American market. But leasing mostly, I think, because it was a trend that was coming, like you said, a bit late in Europe, like the gear, and in France, in Europe, in Spain, it was like that gear, and now my dad was like 65 plus. He bought this new car. There is no gear, so I think it's even me moving to the US, I switched to it and I like it.
Yeah.
I think trends in the US, trends in Europe, and we all influence each other. But yeah, leasing, I think, is becoming a thing in Europe more and more, and Amazon was one of the first one to kind of provide a nice and easy experience to do so online.
Nice. Yeah, I had no idea Amazon even offered that. Okay, cool. From what I know, and let me know. Hopefully it's correct. But before you started Notable, you were already a founder back in France, right? At one point.
Yes, not at that scale though. It was not like VC backed companies.
Right.
I think I started. I don't remember what age, but I started my first company. I was maybe 15 or 16, and I still own it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
What is it?
It's a furniture business. So just
Okay.
kind of drop shipping plus reselling. It doesn't take.
Okay.
I'm just doing the accounting now. It's I actually learned a lot about doing the accounting myself. It was basically rising from a family business. So my mother and other people I know were architects in France, and it's a very let's say regulated profession and activity. So you can only, I'm gonna be boring for a second here, but you can only, just to explain the pain point, which lead me to be a good product manager, is like it's just identifying pain points and solving them in innovative ways. That's what product managers is at the essence of it. And as an architect, you can only in France advise on design. If you do, interior design, you can of course build the permit and the architecture of the house. You can submit the permit. You can look for contractors. You can manage quotes. And if you are good and have the experience, you can do the site engineering, which is delivering the project. So from ideation to delivery, you can do so. But when you're going to do interior design and say to your client, buy this 5,000 code, or buy this 3,000 lamp, or whatsoever, you just direct them to the website. Even if you source them, even if you have a relationship with a seller, and you don't make money on that. I mean, that's Amazon's marketplace makes money on finding objects and surfacing them to you and selling them. There's no middleman margin. So the only way to do it was like build a company to enable those architects to be an employee of those companies and basically use it as a vehicle to resell. Because when you do B2B, you go to any when you go B2B, you have 20% off automatically. So just by going to a company and say, I'm a company, I want to sell that to someone else with a consumer, I get 20% off, and you can already just make a middle margin just by being a company. So I started like that. We expanded to other architects, and still running. It's like a very small business, but it's fun, and I keep it because it's a good memory and a good experience. And then I built and sold website on using WordPress. So that was kind of what I was doing as a kid.
Okay.
And then I had many other opportunities, but I never really took the leap of faith because I didn't find the right people. I was working on when actually before Zillow came up with their competition on Kaggle to try to like build a Z estimate with a friend who was data scientist at that time. We built a very similar kind of ML model. It was like a year before, and we had a lot of interest from like real estate agency to work with us, but both of us had a great job, and we just didn't feel like it was the right time for us to do that leap of faith. And the EU was a very difficult market. Zillow, Trulia, whatever, the Redfin, Realtor, fantastic website in the US. In the EU, it's very difficult. Tell me one website that does what Zillow does or Trulia does. There is none because you have against regulation.
Yeah, no, that's very true. No, it's really interesting about that family business. Thanks for sharing that. I think before you went to Amazon, you worked at Siemens as well, right? As a business strategist, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So why did you decide why Siemens, and what did you learn from that role?
So that was to be clear, just a very short amount of time. It was 6 months between my two masters because I did a second master. So like the 6 months contract in Belgium. I think Siemens is one of the oldest and biggest European company. So it was a good experience to go there. And they're trying to, so the business strategy is a very wide term. I think it's not being used a lot. You are tasked to, at least I was, with my team, to come up with business plan and presentations and let's say market research for the sales team to decide what to target. So if you try to like turn that into entrepreneur startup terms, I was doing market research, ICP's definition, buyer personas, and coming up with sales deck. So, and it's funny because you can, it's like the same kind of actions, but actually that's the way I'm describing it now that I know the terms and I've been doing that for a while. It was very interesting. I was trying to sell biomass power plants to African countries. So I learned a lot about Africa, did a lot of research. I went there once to like trade shows. And I was making cases to say we should try to sell biomass power plants in Cameroon because XYZ population, because XYZ demographic and competitive landscape and all that jazz. So that was very, very interesting. That was only 6 months, but I really liked it. And it was a good opportunity for me just to travel around and, discover a new European country.
Yeah. And just from all the experience acquired to date, where would you say, because we talked about it before, that you really cared about collaboration around vision, short-term, long-term. Where would you say you developed these qualities that really helped you now?
I will say that's a great question. When you mean in terms of qualities to be able to be a founder and run a business, or you mean something different?
Yeah, I mean, being a founder, you need to know how to collaborate really well. You need to have clear vision and strategy, right? So from your experience, whether it's from your family business to your experience at Siemens or other places, where would you say you kind of really built, or at Amazon, really built that craft or those qualities that made you successful with your current company, Noteable?
I think the first thing is that I never think I'm successful. So I'm just trying to be successful, at least in my mindset. I was like, I achieved nothing. Like, let's wake up and achieve something. When people congratulate me and like, oh, look at what you did. You moved to the US and you work for Amazon and you started your own company. You raised 25 million like a year and Like, you look at what you achieved. I'm like, no, look at what I didn't achieve and what's
Mm-hmm.
left. So I think that's one of the main driver is for some of my friends or co-founders and employees, sometimes like Pierre is always, looking at what we are doing wrong. I was like, because I just want to do better. I just want to improve. So I I look a lot at what we are doing great, and we are doing a lot of great things, and I'm very excited about what we are continuously building. But I think that's my first mindset is like, what can we do better every day? Celebrating small wins is fantastic, but I'm always looking at where can I be more efficient? Where can I spend my time um, more efficiently? Where what can I do better every day? That's my first like mindset that helped me. I don't know if I'm successful, but I think helped me reflect on action or inaction and decide like maybe I can adjust a bit. That's my first kind of role, like what can you do better. I'll say the second one is I always believe that, and that's actually the mission of Notable as a company, is like to enable everyone to work together with data. Is collaboration is essential to everything, to everything. I know, like I tell people, I know a lot about a lot of things, but I know very little about one specific thing. It's just I have a lot of breadth. I can talk with many people having a 10-minute conversations, but not maybe a 1 hour conversation. And so I always need someone to achieve anything. Everything I wanted, everything I did, everything I'm doing, I cannot do it myself. I could act something together in a lot of ways, but to make it great, you have to be a team. You have to bring different personalities together. You have to bring different experience, skill set, and expertise. And so I always believe that I don't achieve anything by myself. And I think as a CEO or co-founder, it's great mindset to have as well. Is don't be humble about what you can do. You need other people to achieve what you want to achieve, and being together and being many people, you can actually build something better. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to maybe being a product manager, because that's kind of what we are talking about as well. Um, it's important that when you're a product manager, you're gonna come up with new ideas, and people are gonna look at you for what we are doing next. That doesn't mean you have to get it right 100% of the time and have the full-blown solution. Get there with 60% of the way. You have to have strong opinions because you have to convince people. I'm kind of maybe jumping a bit questions, but then listen and get feedback and improve and come back to the table with like solution number 2, solution number 3, solution number 4, solution number 5. I think a lot of mistakes I've seen is people coming up and saying, this is the solution, this is what we are doing. You have to come with a strong opinion and say, this is the solution, this is what we are doing. But someone brings a good point, a good data point, a good feedback, expertise. You have to say, oh, I didn't think about that. That's an edge case I didn't know about. That's the persona I was not aware of. That's a market shift I didn't look. And so I think as the CEO, as a product manager, it's very important to be opinionated because they are looking for both roles. People are looking at you for the vision, the mission, what are you trying to achieve, why, and you have to have a reasoning behind it. You have to believe in it there for them to believe in you. But you have to be open to feedback and to listen. So I will say always being continuous improvements, like what can we do
Mm-hmm.
better? Believe in collaborative work and being opinionated, but also listen to feedback.
No, that's great. And you mentioned this before, and you kind of touched upon it already, where you said before, plan for one thing, but prepare for everything. And I was kind of curious, was it just over time in your career that you kind of learned that? You mentioned some of the things now, but was there any specific point of time that you had that moment? You're like, oh, okay, like this is what I have to do.
Yeah, I think, when I was a kid, I don't know if everyone has that dream. I don't think so at all. When I was 13 or 14, I wanted to be something very, very specific. I wanted to be an organizational design consultant. I wanted to design organizations. I don't know why. So I was 14, I was reading books about consultancy,
Wow.
McKinsey, BCG, Bain. And that was my dream. I was like, at 18, I'm just going to go work for BCG or Bain or Boutique and do a PhD about like organizational design, organizational structure. And like, it's like, why? I don't know.
Interesting.
I like to like structure things. And, but then I realized, I don't know, I think you make a plan because you have to have a North Star, and we can go back to product management analogy again. But make a plan, have a North Star, and commit to it. But adapt. I think everyone knows that. Everyone mentioned it in different ways, shape, or form with different idioms. But commit to something, and when you get small signals, change, adapt, and then commit to the second thing until you have an information to make you change your opinion. And then people, will challenge that with something very true. To go back to building a SaaS business or being a founder or product manager, is you can lose yourself pretty easily if you just follow each directions. People say like, if you just listen to customer feedback when you build a SaaS business, you're actually not going to build a SaaS business. You're going to build a consultancy because you're going to serve big businesses and you're just going to build custom solution for each of them. That doesn't scale. You are not, Accenture or Cognizant again, or whoever is doing that now. So you cannot just implement custom solution. That's a business, but that's not a SaaS business. So building a SaaS business is having a vision and a mission. Those are the key pain points that I'm trying to tackle. But along the way, I'm learning that I have varieties of customers and personas and enterprises I want to serve, different size, different industry. How do I build a solution that's scalable that can tackle the set of use cases that I'm going after? And that's where you have to adapt. And I always call that like kind of a cone. Like, the cone is defining the mission and the vision of your companies. And that's the flexibility you have within it. And the more you grow, when you start a company, like it's very small and you have to commit to like something clear. You cannot like shift priorities. You're going to lose yourself and, you're not going to have a competitive advantage. But as you grow a company, the cone, scope grows as well. And you build different set of products, different set of services. You expand how you serve your customers. And I think that's what's kind of driving me to say, plan for one thing, but prepare for everything.
No, great. The next few questions I have is kind of more, I think, around your time while you were at Amazon. And I know you did different types of things at Amazon over, different periods of time, but I wanted to ask more specifically, what were some of like the organizational elements, the, activities, the functions that you saw at Amazon that you thought were done really well, that you leveraged in your company, or principles that you thought were great that you use today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm happy you're not asking me about what I didn't like.
I'm sure there's a lot of that.
A lot of both, like everywhere. I think, and everyone is quoting the same thing from Amazon, is that culture of writing. There is something special about it, and that's the reason why it has been organically adopted by other people in other companies. And we talked about that. You like also that culture of writing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to copy paste what Amazon does. You can adapt it. You have to adapt it to your own culture, your own company, your size. But that culture of writing, there's one thing that's key to it, and I have to give that to my wife because I was talking with my wife yesterday about it. Like I told you, she's a technical product manager at Amazon as well. And she was telling me it's very inclusive. And I never thought about that angle. It's actually really true. It's very inclusive in terms of if you're on board to a new company, a new team, and everything is written down, it's automatically documentation for you to learn about the team, what has been done, the decisions that were made, the history and the context of how we are where we are. It's very inclusive because Amazon is taking it to the next level, which has been difficult to implement at Noteable, which I didn't push for it because it's very specific. And also we are a remote company. Amazon was not for a long time. When you enter a room, I was in a meeting one day with Jeff Wilkie and like only like VPs and directors, and Jeff Wilkie was on the big monitor because he was not here. But there was like 50 people in the room. And for the first 30 minutes, you do nothing, just reading. And when you are the one writing the document that you have been writing for 2 months, you just wait for it. So you just wait for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, they usually used to go by order of like seniority. So Jeff Wilkie at that meeting starts and say, okay. And he starts page by page, line by line, which I respected a lot. He was reading everything, like 15 pages, 30 minutes, he was reading everything, and he will go like to a specific line and ask, who wrote that? Why did you write that? And kind of challenge. And I think what's great about it, and then people could put comments on the doc and then give it to the writer, or now they're using online solution. Before I leave, I think they're using Quip, which is a company that was acquired by Salesforce. And people leave comments on the doc, and that enables async collaboration or in real time. So it's very inclusive for everyone. Everyone at any level can go on the document if they have access to it, leave a comment. It's very inclusive because it's forcing you as well to work with your teammates. You write a doc, you share with your teammates, you get feedback. So there are many things I can tell about why the writing principles or culture is great for your company, not just for Amazon. But I think after a discussion yesterday, I really wanted to focus on inclusivity because I think it's something that people don't really highlight.
No, it's great. I've been using it. We've been doing process changes now where we follow the same model. Somebody has a process change. They create, the document under the structure of like the vision, what's happening now, what's the pain point, what's your solution, what are the metrics. I really love it because it gets everybody aligned very quickly.
Yeah.
And the biggest talent, I think, in many ways, in a growing company or even with a growing and remote company, is just like not everybody's always on the same page. And so one other thing that I like that they do is there's the newsflash concept. Where like, okay, here's all the things that happen, and you have to go through it to get familiar with like what happened. I'm like, fuck, that's so brilliant. Because like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, now what tool can I use? Because that I think was a proprietary one or something that they were using. I'm like, oh. But just that concept, because it's Amazon's like 1 million people employee-wise or something. I think it's huge.
I mean, you have all the people working and the fulfillment center. I think we put it well on it internal, but I think it's near 1 million, and they acquired World Food years ago, so that merged. So I think it's 1 million plus if you count everyone being.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think on the business side I don't remember the number. I don't want to say something dumb. Maybe a couple of 100,000, like the tech.
Yeah.
The tech side, 500,000. I don't remember. But writing is a big one. Did you ask me about writing, or do you ask me like all of them? Because I can go on and on.
Yeah, I mean, writing is definitely one. What other kind of maybe principles you really aligned with that you're using now?
Yeah, the one I'm actually using now. So I have many friends who are working at Amazon who left and founded other startups, and it's funny because a lot of them they just replicated a mini Amazon. And when I talk with my co-founders, they're like, oh yeah, I have like the same hiring process, I have the same leadership principle, I do everything the same, and they hired like 5 people from Amazon. So it's just another Amazon doing something backed by Amazon. I guess it's a good way for Amazon to expand, let your employee, like the PayPal mafia or whatever they call it all the time, but let your employees build something, give them some money, and if they are successful, acquire them and they come back to Amazon. That's actually a good way to expand when your organization doesn't allow you to innovate that much. Though Amazon is very easy, frankly, to. I heard a lot of stories when I was there. There was actually a real process. If you had a good idea, you write the PR FAQ, which is the press release with the FAQ, 6 pages, or you can do more if you want. The trick was Amazon sidetrack. You put everything in the appendix because the appendix doesn't count as number of pages. That was really funny when some people like VPs or others. So I was going in a meeting rewriting docs, and the doc was like 35 pages. And I was like, no, look at that. It's a 6-pager. It's like, yeah, you have 6 pages plus 30 pages of appendix. Like, so like, when you run a category in a business, you need all those tables with all those metrics that you track from like the very top level to like bottom. So yeah, it was a funny note sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I think, yeah, what I was saying, Amazon was great to innovate because people had ideas. If you write a doc, put it up the chain, and if it was interesting enough, it will go up, and it might end up to the CEO of Amazon Retail, which was Jeff Wilke at the time when I was there. And if he likes it, he could give you accounts and a new team and go for it. And I've seen and I've heard that happen, and I think it's fantastic at a company that size to be able to like let people with big ideas think big. The You're asking me, sorry, I lost track. You're asking me about.
About core
Oh
principles that
yeah,
you.
and I went sidetracked. That's ownership is a big one. I was talking about the other companies. I took ownership as a big one because for me it encapsulates so many other good principles and so many other behavior that um, I believe in. I mean, I want to try to see if I can lead by example, because I think at a company, when you start a company and you think about company values, and we are fully remote company, you have to really live and believe in your principles. If you don't, you are the first line. If the executives don't believe in them and don't lead by example, it's not going to happen. So you have every day on Slack, in Zoom meetings, whenever you meet with someone face to face, you have to lead by example. So
Mm.
I believe in ownership for many reasons, because ownership has a loose definition, but for me, it's really about two things. You think about the long term instead of the short term. Um, if you take shortcuts, take like well-educated and sound shortcuts. Like you really think about those are the trade-off, and we can go to another principle of Amazon that I like, which is the one-way door versus a two-way door decision. Which is, you can either the one-way door is like it's a very difficult decision. You have to think a lot about before taking it because there is a lot of impact and dependency, and it's difficult to come back from it. You actually can't. Two-way door decision is like, oh, let's just change the color of the button on that website. You don't even need to. You don't even need to write a doc about it. You don't even need to tell me about it. Do it. And if you think it was a bad decision after a week because of whatever data point, just come back on it. That's just fine. We don't even have to chat. So I think one way door, two way door is very important. And ownership, it's forcing you to be collaborative, because ownership means you need to care about others and not just yourself. So think long term, and the way to do it is care about the company, care about what the company builds, care about their customers, care about your team. And if you have done all of that, you would actually have taken care of you. So don't think about yourself first. Think about everything before that. And you will realize that through that process, you would have taken care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the two main things behind ownership for me. There is many others, and how it kind of plays well with other values and core values that we have at Noteable, other behavior that I like to replicate. But yeah, ownership is the biggest one among the 14 now, I think, that Amazon has,
Yeah.
ownership principles.
Yeah, I always look at them like, ooh, copy paste, copy paste. But I'm like, oh, no, I gotta be unique here.
Yeah,
Just a couple.
yeah, you got to live them, so you got to
Yeah.
adapt them to what you do, and what you want. Also adapt to the team that you have. You have 30 people. Maybe not all of them like ownership. So how is it? How as small companies, that each time you add a new person to that team, it's completely changing your culture. That's why everyone says the first hires are key hires. They are helping
Mm.
you defining the values of and what the company is and what the company is going to be. So yeah, you have to adapt, of course, the team that you build and their personalities.
Exactly. And talking about hiring employees and productivity, how do you get now with your company Notable? How do you get your employees engaged so that they're most productive and running, efficiently?
Yeah. I think there's a challenge of, everyone is writing papers or research about remote companies and being fully remote, hybrid, coming back to work. And I think we, for the past 2 years, we read as much about COVID as about Google or Facebook or Microsoft or Amazon forcing the people to come back to work or not forcing them on hybrid, reducing their pay, they move around. It's like something, at least maybe I'm biased because I get the feed just about tech on Google, but that's why I feel like I read as much about that than about COVID. I think whatever is that configuration, they are at the office or they are not at the office. I really believe in building what I called, or maybe I read it somewhere one day, about the product organization. So your company is your product when you are small. And after we talked about growing multiple products and services, but you can always apply the analogy. And building a product organization is tying back everything you do back to the product and back to how it's serving the customers that you are serving. And every role, HR, finance, engineers, design, product, project, um, marketing, growth, sales, they're all here to serve the customers. How do you serve the customers? Through your company. What is your company? It's your product. So the way to having them engage is showing them that they have an impact on the product. Marketing have an impact on the product because they explain the product to people. Growth have an impact of the product because they are designing the onboarding experience. They are doing, they are helping the product manager to like get feedback and data point about what the users are interested in. If you think about sales, they pair a lot with marketing to think about, oh, this is what our customer actually care about. Do we have that in our suite of services? Should we build a new product? Should we expand our product? Is it what the mission of the company is about? Product, they're of course trying to define what's next. Design, it's feedback loop and it's how it looks and how it's appealing and usable. And engineers is just making it happen. And so when you tie back everything back to the product and you understand that they all have an influence and everything they do has an impact to the product, the company, the customer, I think it's a great way to get them engaged. So I spend a lot of time, and sadly I'm only remote, so it's mostly on Slack. I spend a lot of time just, like I said at the beginning of this kind of podcast, is having strong opinion, but showing them that if they have a good case, if they have a right data point, if they have an idea, they can see it through. If that, of course, aligns with the vision and the mission. And just go out there and convince the rest of the team. You're an engineer, you want to build something, go convince the rest of the team, convince the product manager. What's the pain point we are trying to tackle? Is it building synergies with something we have already? So yeah, I think you take any role within your company, trying to build that product organization and tying back everything back to the product and the customer pain points is the way to everyone. I think being engaged, and I'm very happy with the team that we have. And even this morning, I had like beautiful example of like backend engineer just like submitting a design request and say, hey, why the design looks like that? It should be here, XYZ, here's the reason. And that makes this is crazy, but the thing that makes me the most happy is seeing that. Is seeing an engineer or whatever role or HR or like whatever giving feedback on the product and proposing a solution. I just love that.
No, it definitely requires a cultural kind of mindset, which gives people that freedom and that ability to go and raise and provide change. I'm curious though, because there's certain things I think in every role within any company that people don't like to do. Some of the boring parts, like maybe the admin stuff or whatever, things that people don't like to do. Is there anything that you've found as like a good way to suppress those things, or like how to get people to, push through them or not do them even?
3 things for me. One is about timing. Sometimes you think something is boring, just about you don't want to do it at this current point in time. Maybe you might want to do it tomorrow or the next week. So I always believe in allowing people to do things when they want to do them. Something I do a lot. So within a week, I have a to-do list. I need to send 30 emails, update a sales deck, write a blog post, reach out to VCs. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to write a blog post on Monday. Okay, I'm gonna do it on Sunday, and maybe on Friday I take a break and I work the whole Sunday. So I always believe in flexibility in terms of time and timing, as long as you meet the deadline. But allowing people to do things when they want to do it, if we're coming to a timeline, a deadline, and a goal, I think it's one way to make things less boring. And I think giving them the mean and the power of influencing those actions and those decisions or those tasks is a way to make it less boring. Like if it's a top-down decision about you have to do XYZ because you have to do it, doesn't help to make something interesting. Where if you give them the opportunity to say, hey, you tell me if that's important, and I let you discover why it is important, and I convince you that it is important by bringing data points, that's gonna make it less boring. And I think the third one is just giving it a meaning. Like, why are we trying to achieve that? Going back to being a product manager or an executive is explaining the why and the reason behind it. But there are stuff that will always be boring, and sadly we have to do them. But
of course,
but
I'm always
that's a good way to at least 2 or 3 things I'm thinking about when I think about task, like maintenance. We talk about keep the light on in engineering, which is upgrading the infrastructure, the maintenance part. Give it a meaning and do a storytelling around it about why it's important for your business, for your product, for your company, for the team. And I think that
exactly. Okay, great. Last question I have for you, Pierre, is, I'm always interested to find out from people who leave, a great kind of company like Amazon and then become a founder. And I think Amazon creates many great entrepreneurs. But for you, what was the reason that you left Amazon to be a founder again?
Yeah, mostly the people. Of course, we had a good idea, and what we are doing it at the right time in the market. There are a lot of people interested in a notebook solution for Python, SQL, R, and no-code visualization. I think companies are moving to use more and more Python, and their data stack is changing a lot. So they're looking for those new kind of solutions that replace their BI tools or their SQL query tooling. But I think the main one was the people. In the past, when I had other ideas, everyone is saying idea is 1%, execution is 99%. Mm-hmm. So we all have fantastic ideas every day. The question is that do you have the mean to achieve them? And the first one starts with the people. Do you have the right people, the right co-founders? If someone is thinking about starting a company, I would always if you can, don't be alone. Because it's a difficult journey, and you don't want to put that on your partner in terms of complaints and sometimes when you're down, it's because it's a lot of upside down. So I think the people for me was very important. I knew when I was going to start this adventure that I had the right set of people that I could believe in, collaborate with, communicate with, work with. And the first set of employees as well, that was friends of my co-founder, and I was I was very excited about the people that I was going to start this adventure with.
Amazing. Before I wrap up, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would want to share with the audience?
I don't think so. I think we spoke a bit more about executives or being a founder today than being a PM. I feel like you started with I was a very technical product manager. I think what's important as a technical product manager is actually don't be too technical. Don't get stuck into the details. You have, when you know a bunch about tech, that it definitely enables you to move faster, because the feedback cycle with your engineering team, with your design team, you anticipate the questions. So you can kind of make trade-off when you propose three solutions. You can anticipate, okay, that's going to take 6 more months. That's achievable. That's not achievable. But you are here to build as a product manager, even if technical. And that's why Google, Facebook, and others don't call them technical product manager. They call product manager, even if they have to be very technical. You are here to solve pain points and build a business behind it. You are not here to improve the latency on the website. If you improve the latency of the website, that triggers a better experience for your customers, XYZ, fantastic. But focus on the pain point that you are solving for, and then build a solution behind it. But don't start with the tech. The tech, there are many people that will do a better job than you. So understand them, being able to work with them and collaborate and communicate with them, it's fantastic. Being able to know what's feasible and what's not before even having to talk to them. But they are looking up to you for why and what are we building. And they will tell you how. Both the designer and engineering team will tell you how. The designer to make it enjoyable and usable, and the engineering team to make it just feasible to be out there. So yeah, focus on the why and the what, and collaborate with the people to do the rest. So don't be too stuck in the technical details at first.
Okay, I think it's a great final words. Pierre, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience, your knowledge. I really appreciate it, and always thank you to our listeners for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.